morning. I'll share our experience with scapular fractures. Scapular fractures result from high energy trauma. And most of these fractures are minimally displaced and heal rapidly because of their high musculature and increased blood supply. But historically, scapular fractures are treated non-operatively because of this region. But are they really giving us the results? This is a fracture where there is grossly malunited body fracture. You can see the bump in the scapula causing pain. In another case, here the fractured neck of the glenoid is grossly rotated on almost the scapula is head of the humerus is dislocated. You can see the outcome or function of this type of surgery. And another floating shoulder injury, you can see so much displaced fracture clavicle, so much drooping with gross restriction of movement. So there is a time to rethink about the fracture scapula management. What the literature says, most of the literature says that malunion of the scapular neck or even these floating shoulder injuries can lead to pain and rotator cuff function dysfunctions. And there is a superior shoulder sensory complex which helps maintain a stable relationship between the axial skeleton and upper extremity. And if it is displaced, then there is also problem in the rotator cuff functions, drooping, and other problems for the shoulder. There is a systemic review by Joldowski of 520 cases of the 22 case series. It was found that 80% of all glenoid fractures were being treated surgically, while 99% of isolated body fracture were treated by conservative means. But the management of scapular fracture has changed based on the greater understanding of the injury, periscapular anatomy, surgical approach, and the fracture fixation strategies. So they considered almost 1% of all fractures, and body of the scapula is more commonly fractures. But what is most important is they are associated almost 80 to 90% cases, other injuries like thoracic injury, head injury, spine injury. I call them scapula, triad of the scapular fractures, because if there is a fracture clavicle, always look for a rib fracture, and if there is a rib fracture, always look for scapular fractures. They are always associated. And almost 45% cases, scapula is a missed injury. So we have to have a strong suspicion of this fracture scapula in case of shoulder injuries. So how does fracture scapula influence shoulder function? Injury to glenoid with malalignment can contribute to instability or arthrosis of the glenohumeral joint, and then malalignment through scapular neck can contribute to dysfunction of the rotator cuff and shoulder girdle musculature, and malalignment of the scapular body can cause painful bumps, scapulothoracic crepitation, and floating shoulder injuries may lead to drooping shoulders, malunion, etc. So preoperative planning is very important. It should be in the ATLS manner because there are a lot of polytrauma associated, neurological and radiological evaluation. All three trauma series X-ray should be done, 2D CT, and also 3D CT should be done to evaluate glenopolar angle, displacement, and angulations. Then there are many classifications individually for glenoid neck and also for the body and for the coracoid or acromial fractures, but commonly AO classification encompasses all. And is there a role of non-surgical treatment? Vast majority of scapular fractures may be treated non-operatively, while close reduction of this fracture is usually not possible. Treatment consists of support of a sling and early motion. Most fractures heal by 6 weeks. There are certain surgical indications, though there is no clear evidence-based guideline, and if there is more than 25% affection of the articular surface or the concomitant step-up of the glenoid more than 3 mm, that is absolute indication for surgery. There are other relative indications which I have gone through. So approaches, when I started my scapular surgery around 2000, I was doing all these extensive approach, stripping all the posterior muscles, but though there is no non-union, and we have now gone into minimal incisions like Brodowski incision and modified Judet incision. And this is my first case where I did this scapula in, I think in 2000 or 2000. This was a fracture, displaced body fracture. I stripped all the muscles, you can see from here, fixed with recon plates, and you have a very, you can see the function. This is almost a 25 years old follow-up. So another case, this is a floating shoulder injuries, grossly comminuted fracture body, neck, and also along with the clavicle. And I opened up with a modified Judet approach, reduced temporarily with KVAS, though it is very difficult, then fixed with fractures, and this is the final outcome and the function. Another case we did recently, this is a polytrauma scenario. You can see there is a chest tube given because of hemothorax, grossly displaced body, glenoid, and also acromion fractures. This is a CT. I opened with a modified Judet approach, fixed both columns. I usually fix the lateral column first, reduce the glenoid, and then go medially if necessary, and then fix the acromion also with a tension band wiring. And this is very recently done, so I don't have the follow-up here. So the take-home message is majority of the fractured scapula can be treated conservatively, but there are definite indications of surgeries which include intra-articular glenoid fractures, displaced neck fractures, wildly angulated body fracture, and double SSSC or floating shoulder injuries. Thank you.